Imagine an investment so rare, so luxurious, so desirable, that owning it made you part of an exclusive elite. Tulips weren't just flowers, they were a currency. Tulips were new and exciting in Europe. They had just been introduced from the Ottoman Empire in the late 1500s, and their vibrant colors and unique shapes stood out compared to the usual flowers in European gardens. Some tulips developed stunning striped and speckled patterns due to a virus, ironically the tulip-breaking virus. These rare color variations were unpredictable, and the ones with the most dramatic, broken colors became status symbols. Owning rare tulips became a way to show off wealth. Eventually, people stopped buying tulips to plant them and started buying them to flip them. Speculators drove prices sky high, thinking they could always sell to someone else for more. The rarest ones, worth 10 times a craftsman's salary. And prices were still going up. This wasn't just a smart investment, it was a ticket to untouchable wealth. And then, reality hit. Turns out you can't eat tulips. The market collapsed overnight, and fortunes vanished like petals in the wind. Congratulations, you just lost your house on a flower. So, every once in a while an investment comes along that is so big, so foolproof, that you'd be crazy not to buy in. The kind of deal that turns a small fortune into an empire. And for a brief, shining moment, it seems guaranteed to win. And then, well, then it all comes crashing down. Welcome to some of the worst investments in history, where people bet big and lost even bigger. Now this was a sure thing. The pinnacle of human engineering, the grand jewel of modern industry. The Titanic wasn't just a ship, it was a floating palace, a fortress of steel and splendor, stretching nearly 900 feet long. The biggest, the most luxurious, the most technologically advanced ocean liner ever imagined. It had electric elevators, heated swimming pools, Turkish baths, and a dining salon that rivaled the Ritz. The first-class passengers were society's elite. The third class? Still better off than on land. This ship wasn't just about travel, it was about power, prestige, and progress. And get this, they said it was unsinkable, literally. Engineers, executives, even the press believed it. God himself couldn't sink this ship, they whispered. And investors, they saw nothing but smooth sailing ahead. Millions flowed into the White Star Line. This wasn't a gamble. This was a dynasty in the making. A company destined to dominate the luxury travel industry for generations. The Titanic wasn't just the future of transportation, it was a floating monument to human ambition. A perfect, unsinkable bet. Turns out calling a ship unsinkable is really bad luck. On top of the tragic loss of life when the Titanic went down, so did White Star Line's finances. Investors? Wiped out. Maybe next time they'll pay for more lifeboats. At the dawn of the 21st century, two titans stood at the edge of a new frontier, the Internet age. On one side, AOL, America Online. A digital juggernaut with tens of millions of subscribers logging in every night to check their email, chat in forums, and surf the web through a platform that felt like magic. They weren't just a company, they were the internet itself for millions. And on the other side, Time Warner, a media empire. Film studios, TV networks, magazines, cable infrastructure. They didn't just make content, they controlled culture. CNN, HBO, Warner Brothers. If you turned it on, read it, or watched it, they probably owned it. So when these two giants announced a $165 billion merger, it wasn't just a business deal. It was a revolution. A bold new vision. To fuse content and connection. To build a digital kingdom where every movie, article, email, and message passed through a single gateway. If you wanted to watch, read, or communicate online in the new millennium, you'd have to go through them. Investors saw it. Analysts praised it. The world watched. This was it, the future of media, online and unstoppable. And then, broadband happened. Turns out nobody wanted dial-up anymore. AOL became worthless, and what was supposed to be the biggest merger ever turned into the biggest financial disaster in history. In the year 2000, a scrappy startup called Netflix walked into Blockbuster's towering headquarters with a proposition: buy us for $50 million. Their pitch? Radical at the time. Movies delivered straight to your home. No late fees, no rewinding, no need to leave your couch. It was the future, and they saw it coming. But Blockbuster laughed. Literally. The CEO leaned back in his chair and reportedly said, "People like late fees." They turned Netflix down without a second thought. Fast forward just a decade, and Blockbuster is gone, bankrupt, relic of a forgotten era. Meanwhile, Netflix? It's now a global streaming giant worth over $200 billion, reshaping how the world watches everything. One decision, one missed opportunity. A $50 million mistake, maybe the biggest in business history. Oh, and in a similar vein, Google once offered to sell itself to Yahoo for a whopping $1 million. Yahoo, in its infinite wisdom, said, "Nah, the world doesn't need another search engine." Flash forward. Yahoo's clinging to relevance, and Google's worth $1.7 trillion. Brilliant call, guys. Really nailed that one. This was it. The future of transportation. A groundbreaking personal vehicle that would change how cities were designed. No need for cars, no need for walking, just gliding effortlessly from place to place. The Segway was a technological marvel. Investors were lining up to get in on the action. Steve Jobs called it as big as the PC. Jeff Bezos was all in. This was the future of transportation. Surely people would ditch their cars and sidewalks for this. Yeah, no one actually wanted one. It turns out cars work just fine, and people like walking. The Segway wasn't the future. It was a $100 million flop. It looked like it drove straight out of the future. The DeLorean DMC-12 wasn't just a car, it was a statement. Stainless steel, gull-wing doors, bold lines like a spaceship on wheels. In an era of beige sedans and boxy station wagons, this thing was a revolution. Investors lined up, convinced they were backing the next automotive empire. John DeLorean, a man who'd played a big part in the development of the Pontiac GTO, Firebird, and Grand Prix, was no longer building cars. He was building a legend. But then, reality showed up. Underpowered, overpriced, built like a futuristic fridge and drove like one too. The hype crashed headfirst into hard truth. Sales stalled. The future wasn't ready for the DeLorean, or maybe the DeLorean wasn't ready for the future. And then came the final twist. In a desperate bid to keep the company afloat, John DeLorean was caught in an FBI sting, accused of trying to smuggle $24 million worth of cocaine. The dream had turned into a high-speed crash. Back to the Future would eventually make the DeLorean iconic, but by then, it was already history. Imagine an investment so solid, so powerful, that it's been around for over 150 years. Lehman Brothers was a Wall Street giant, managing hundreds of billions in assets. They bet big on real estate, knowing property values would never go down. The market was booming, mortgages were everywhere. This was easy money. Then the housing bubble burst, the market collapsed, and those safe mortgages? Worthless. In a matter of days, Lehman Brothers went from a $600 billion empire to total bankruptcy. The US Treasury, in an effort to stabilize the financial markets, refuses to bail them out. And just like that, Lehman Brothers was dead. The worst financial collapse since the Great Depression. And millions of people lost everything. This wasn't just another crypto company. FTX was crypto's golden child. It was fast, slick, and impossibly ambitious. Built not in a garage, but in a glass palace in the Bahamas, FTX promised to revolutionize finance. Not just crypto trading, all of it. The media couldn't get enough. Celebrities like Tom Brady and Larry David signed on. Ads ran during the Super Bowl. Stadiums were renamed. And at the center of it all was Sam Bankman-Fried. Scruffy, awkward, hoodie-clad, and somehow worth $20 billion by age 30. He wasn't just called a genius, he was anointed the next Warren Buffett, the face of a new financial era. Investors didn't blink. They poured in billions, pension funds, venture capital titans. Politicians lined up to shake his hand. FTX wasn't just a company, it was a movement. Untouchable, unstoppable, or so everyone thought. And then, turns out it was all a scam. FTX had no money. Investors lost $32 billion. Crypto bros, crying in real time, and Sam, sitting in jail. FTX wasn't the future of finance, it was the biggest rug pull in history. And that's our list of history's biggest investment disasters. Which one do you think was the worst? Can you think of others? Subscribe and let us know in the comments.
Got any more sage investing advice for me, Joe?
Sure, buddy. Never invest in any company with the word coin in it, unless they're selling quarters at a laundromat.
I'll keep that in mind. Thanks, Joe.